Okay, so let's take a look now at how to provide stubbed values for generic methods, because it is a little bit different from regular methods. So I've changed the student registration service so that the register new student method now scrubs the student before saving it. So we're using this generic scrubber. So if we look at this iScrubber interface, it has a generic scrub method on it. It takes in a data type to scrub and returns the same data type. So in our case, we're going to pass in a student, and we're going to expect a student to be returned back. So when register new student is called, we're going to scrub the student, and the scrubbed student is now what we want to save. If we come over and take a look at the test, here we have this student, and the student's first name has this ampersand on it, and we're going to want that to be scrubbed out. Notice this test is still just asserting that we're calling the save method. That's really all we're doing. And really, if we run that right now, it's going to pass, because all we're asserting is that we actually saved it. But we want to do more than that. We want to assert that we saved the scrubbed student. So let's change this test to it saves the scrubbed student. This name doesn't really apply here. So we saved the scrubbed student. So how would we assert that? Well, first of all, instead of just setting this to true so that we're catching that it was called, let's actually find out which student was saved. And this is going to be saved student. Default that to null. And we're going to set the saved student to X. So when save is called on the student repository, this represents the parameter that was passed in to save. So the student was passed in to save. And then I'm going to set saved student to that student. So we're essentially capturing the student that was passed into the save method. And what I really want this to be is a scrubbed student. So let's create a scrubbed student. And I expect this to look like this. So let's assert that the scrubbed student is the same as the student that was saved. Okay. So I'm going to expect that when save is called, that the student that is saved is this student, not this student. So if I run that, that now fails because they were not the same. In fact, it was null, the scrubbed student. And it was null because null is the default value for scrub for a student. So we didn't set up our stub to return anything, and so it just passed in null here. It did not pass in the scrubbed student. So how we would go about stubbing that then is, now this is where it's different. On other stubs, non-generic stubs, you would expect to find a scrub method in here, and you would replace it with a generic like this. I mean a lambda like this, and then in here you would say what this scrub method would return. Well, that's a little bit different in the fakes framework for generics. And it's actually kind of odd how you do this. We have the stub scrubber, and on it, it has this scrub of 1 M0. So that's kind of a bizarre name. I'm not really sure why that had to be that way with the fakes framework, but anyhow, we now in here can say what we want this method to return, and we want it to return a scrubbed student. And this needs to know what type we're working with here, since it's a generic. So we're now saying that when scrub is called on the scrubber, that we want it to return this scrubbed student. And now we should be able to expect that if the scrubber returns scrubbed student, we should be able to expect that the saved student is the same as the scrubbed student. So we'll run that, and sure enough, that passes. And so kind of a little bit different, unexpected syntax for generics. So it's just a good thing to be aware of that generics really are a little bit different than non-generic methods. That's how you stub generics.